Alright, so if you can't tell from that 5-second intro that I just made what this video is about, I'm about to tell you. My name is Emily Squires and I am a bookseller at Barnes & Noble, but I, before started that job, have always been an avid reader. So I'm here to do some book reviews for you. I've made videos like this in the past, but I have not made one in years, and I think it's about time that I bring it back now that I got a little more book culture on my hands. So I'm going to be reviewing, I think, 7 books today, going in reverse chronological order. Well, I've read most recently, going further back. That way you get the books I remember the most about first. And I hope that you guys enjoy this video. In a boarded up house on a dead-end street at the edge of the wild Washington woods lives a family of 3. A teenage girl who isn't allowed outside, not after laughs time. A man who drinks alone in front of his TV, trying to ignore the gaps in his memory. A house cat who loves napping and reading the Bible. An unspeakable secret binds them together, but when a new neighbor moves in next door, what is buried out among the birch trees may come back to haunt them all. The Last House on Needless Street is an immersive and shocking journey that will keep you guessing until the last page. Even Stephen King says he hasn't read anything this exciting since Gone Girl. And just that alone should intrigue you. So reading this book, you start to immediately really enjoy the characters. Ward does a really good job of the interpersonal dialogues that these characters have. Even though it's in third person, you still see all of the, like, remarks that people make to themselves, which I really love that kind of writing. So in this book, you are firstly introduced to Olivia the cat, and Olivia lives with the human Ted, the second character. And Olivia tells the story of how Ted found her, became his cat, and there's this, I think she describes it as this white cord that connects from her heart to his. And Olivia does not like Ted's daughter. She does not go in the same room as his daughter, and his daughter only comes over so often, so they're never really around. Ted is struggling to raise his daughter because, you know, she's a teenager, but she's seriously rambunctious. She is out of control, biting him, scratching him, and he does not know how to handle it. So Ted has a therapist, and he goes out to drink. He tries to go on dates, but really nothing is working out for Ted. He seems to be a bit of a loner, and you hear about that the more he has these gaps in his memories. He's a drunk. He takes voice recordings so he can try and help himself remember what he's doing. He likes to cook. He makes these really weird, like, recipes, and he does these voice memos. So through the voice memos, you find out more about Ted's past, his relationship with his mother, which was not a great relationship, but he is very fond of his cat. So this third character is introduced, and her name is Dee. Dee describes that one day she goes to the lake near the Washington woods where Ted lives with Dee's parents and her sister. Her sister's name is slipping my mind. Why can't I? Well, her sister ends up being taken. Dee went away to go get ice cream with a boy, ended up getting her period, and her sister's taken. So I really can't give too much away, but pretty much her sister's never found, and Dee goes on this journey to figure out what happens to her sister, and she has suspicion that it's Ted. So the more and more you get into the story, you think you know what's going on. You think you know what's going on, and you just don't, because I will tell you, I had no idea. Once I thought I was there, I was wrong. And this book really does a great job of making you fall in love with its characters, making you mind blown when new information is revealed, and really just, you can't not read it. So please pick up this book by Catriona Ward, and you will not regret the time that you had reading it. Imagine you live in a world where there's this cult-like, I don't even know if I should say cult, but very large group of devoted individuals to storing information from different realities that have books that quite literally can change the fate of a certain reality. There's these devoted spies who are librarians, and their job is to go to these different realms, different worlds, and capture these books, different works of fiction specifically, and bring it back to the library to preserve and to help maintain the balance between magic and destruction and non-magic. So keeping the balance of magic and non-magic aligned. And that is pretty much the premise of this book that I read. It is called The Invisible Library by Genevieve Cogman. And this book it's like magic realism. It's definitely for anyone who just loves reading like the idea of fantasy and just making that come to life. And there's nothing more interesting than a title called The Invisible Library. It's this, the story follows a woman named Irene. She works for the library, and you see her making her way through different worlds to capture these books. But in this story, she is specifically given a task to go to this chaos world, a world where magic is being infested by fae, and things are out of control in terms of like the reality in magic. So she's given an assistant, like a brand new guy, and his name is Kai. So she's already under a lot of pressure going into this world infested with chaos, and now she has this sidekick with her who's pretty new at his job. And not only that, but she has a former co-worker who kind of despises her and is after this specific job because, you know, if you bring back a book from a chaos-infested world, like, you get a lot of props for that. So it's her mission into this world. It's into a version of London, and she has to get a specific novel by the Brothers Grimm. And it is so magical. I almost forgot the best part. Librarians. They have something called the language. So these librarians, once they're fully put through the training, they get this like big tattoo on their back, and it helps them with the language. What it is, you speak out loud, not exactly in English or whatever their speaking tongue is. It's just like slightly off. Only librarians know that they're speaking the language, and it puts things in motion. So if I were to say, door with the metal handle, unlock yourself, like, it would happen. Like, but you have to be careful, because if you're not specific enough, or you're too specific or too general, like, you can affect more things than you wanted. And this is such a fun read. It is in depth. You have to kind of keep track of what you're reading, who characters are, what the laws of magic are. I finished this. I'm on the second, called The Masked City. That's one of the books I'm reading right now. But this is a fun read if you really are just trying to you know, just bring magic into the world. So you can definitely check that one out too. Boxes were piled up like pyramids. Some had mirrors leaning on them. Some had vases still waiting for flowers. There were several clocks that had long since ceased to tick. Lighters were scattered like confetti on what little floor space there was. Many boxes were adorned with birds. Amy kept as many of her birds out as she could. It seemed cruel to have them cooped up in darkness when they loved the sunlight, but Amy couldn't make space for them all to be free at once. She kept the sofa mostly clear to give herself a rather indulgent place to sit, and she'd also make sure she had a thin walkway to the window. She traversed her miniature ravine, then turned back to admire the room. This is The Missing Treasures of Amy Ashton by Eleanor Ray. Amy is good at finding the beauty in things. That's pretty much the main point of her character. She hoards a lot of things at her house, but they all have sentimental values, and as she goes throughout her house, boxing things, unboxing things, moving everything around, you get a different connection with every item that she has in her house. So she doesn't leave very often. She goes to work, but at work she has nothing on her desk, no pictures, and she doesn't really interact with anybody. She notices one day that she gets a new neighbor, and his name is Richard. He has 2 boys. Her first thought is, oh God, they're gonna destroy the items in my garden. And it's just funny because you really see the way she thinks, and I really like the dialogue people have with themselves in their head. That is my favorite part. So Amy, you start to learn more and more through her memories with different items what happened to her, how she got to this point where she's been living in the same house for 12 years. She had a boyfriend named Tim. Her and Tim met at a party. Tim and her were trying to find like a cork bottle opener, whatever, and he's part of a band. So they get serious, they're together for a while, eventually they move in together. Amy's friend Chantel was also at the party. Her and Chantel are like BFFs. They're super close and they're very different from each other, but that's just what makes the friendship work. So Chantel also now moves in this apartment with them. Amy is, I'm pretty sure, a writer. I don't remember her occupation. Or no, she's an artist. She's an artist, but you know, she's deciding to get a steady job because Tim wants to go on tour. He's working with his band, but it's not working out well. And Chantel, she's getting caught up with a bad group of people. So basically, one day, her boyfriend goes out. She hasn't heard from Chantel, and they never come back. Chantel and Tim both go missing within the same 24-hour span. There's nothing. She hears nothing from them. They're gone forever. And Amy is still in this house where they were all living. She bought the house. It was her grandmother's house. And basically it is her discovering some items where she thinks she might figure out what happened to Tim and to Chantel. And this story unravels in a really beautiful way. It does a good job of like showing you what happened in the past, but while keeping it in the present, if that makes any sort of sense. So this is a fun read. You really like Amy, and my cat is trying to get in my room. But yeah, this is a good fun read. Unexpected, but I kind of suspected. I don't know. That's also because I read a lot. So you might suspect the ending, but you also might not. So give it a read. Alright, so this next one is probably one of my favorites that I've read recently. So you are trapped in a world and you feel this pull to this one stranger and you hardly know them. And you can't help but feel this universal divinity to know them, to get to know them, to help each other out. And somehow you die. And you wake up in a new life. You're a different person. You're the same soul, but you experience different things. And you meet this person again. And they've had different experiences, different life journeys. And you still feel that attraction to them. But here's the thing. Thora and Santi are strangers, but they're not always strangers. Sometimes they're father and daughter. Sometimes they're professor and student. Sometimes one's older than the other and one's younger than the other. It is a truly powerful story about love and the different ways it exposes itself in life. Infinite timelines, two different people, and this is called Meet Me in Another Life, and it's beautiful. The story, the plot line, like what they're trying to figure out, like why this is happening, and then what you figure out at the end, that's all good and stuff, but I really love like the symbolism of the love and more so of just like their relationship. So like I said, each chapter is either in Thora or Santi's perspectives or a little bit of both, and you just see what their relationship is like. You learn different things. There's some aspects of each life that they've lived that are always the same, like their relationship with their mother or father, or like the way they feel about a certain person, or the way they feel about each other. It's very complicated, but it's so beautiful. And Thora is this bright but also closed off individual, and I could really get into how much I really like Thora, but in Santi's a whole different kind of way. The way they think about life is completely opposite at first, and then they seem to meet in the middle at one point, and then they keep going, and it's really a good reflection about what life actually might be like. But what they find out, why they're being tormented this way or trapped this way, why it's happening like this, it seems a little like at the end it seems kind of I don't know, like just thrown in there almost, like it could have been anything, but like it works with what ends up like being the truth of why this keeps happening to them, why they can remember their death, why they remember their births. Like, it's really great. I would give this a read, please. I know I said I was going to be reviewing 7 books, but honestly it's pretty late, I'm getting tired, and I don't want to record any more of this tomorrow, so I'm just gonna wrap it up here. But if you did like those book reviews, if you read any of these after watching this, let me know, tell me what you think. I hope to make more of these, and I will possibly doing some of the like a more in-depth review of the books I'm reading right now, maybe just a whole video focusing on one book. There could be spoilers in it if you want an actual review, but we'll just stick with this for now. So I really hope you guys enjoyed that. I know I do, and happy reading.